Welcome to The Criminologist, the podcast dedicated to educating and entertaining our listeners. This week, bringing you a special American Probation and Parole Association edition. As the voice of the community corrections industry, APPA serves as the field's leading professional membership association. In addition to their U.S. members, the American Probation and Parole Association is supported by international members who are actively involved in strengthening community corrections work in their own countries. APPA's International Relations Committee aims to connect community corrections professionals around the world to inspire and share insights from their unique experiences and best practices. Welcome to this special APPA episode of The Criminologist. And now, welcome your host, Joseph Arvidsson.
Hello and welcome to episode 163 of the Criminologist podcast. Happy to have you all with us today. Our plan is to weave in more and more of these special edition episodes in the future, collaborating with our good friends at APPA. So please stay tuned in particular for those in the future. Now, for those of you who may not be aware of the American Probation and Parole Association, allow me to bring you some brief contextual information before I share my conversation with this week's very special guest. The American Probation and Parole Association really is the voice of the community corrections industry. APPA serves as the field's leading professional membership association. Their work is supported by thousands of passionate members throughout the United States and abroad. The American Probation and Parole Association has members at all levels of the government and the private sector, including community corrections professionals, service providers, libraries and educators, research students, volunteers, concerned citizens, corporations, public safety advocates, and others with an interest in criminal and juvenile justice. Everything APPA does is aimed at reducing recidivism to keep our communities safe. That means strengthening the role of the community corrections industry. Now, as noted, the Criminologist podcast works closely with the American Probation and Parole Association, in particular their International Relations Committee. Our goal is to expand the reach and influence beyond our shores and highlight the great work being done by some of our international partners. Which is why I'm so excited to be sharing this week's conversation with not one, but two very special guests. Jana Spero is the Secretary General of the Confederation of European Probation. As she is about to explain to those who are not yet aware, the Confederation of European Probation, or CEP, is the established European organization for probation and the voice and leader for probation in Europe. CEP was established in 1981 as the network of probation organizations to share knowledge, exchange expertise, and support developments in the field of community sanctions in Europe. Jana is an international expert on prison and probation and has previously represented her home country of Croatia in numerous projects and conferences and various working groups. Jana Carbonaro is actually a returning guest of the Criminologist podcast. She is currently the Vice President of the Confederation of European Probation. In addition to those responsibilities, Jana is the Probation Inspector for the National Probation Director for the Romanian Ministry of Justice. I am so excited to have the opportunity to have these two amazing individuals share their insights and expertise. So please, sit back and enjoy my conversation with Jana Spero and Jana Carbonaro, joining us all the way from Europe. And I will see you all on the other side. Welcome to the show, ladies, and thank you so much for being a part of this very special APPA edition of the Criminologist podcast, in which we're hoping to specifically shine a light on and highlight some of the great work being done by our International Relations Committee and Part of that work entails getting the message out that APPA is not merely an organization for American probation officers, but that we're really open to sharing ideas and resources with our international partners. And to that end, I've been inviting various international partners to the show to showcase their work. So grateful today that I will be chatting with Jana Spero, Secretary General, and Iuliana Carbonaro, Vice President of the Confederation of European Probation. Welcome to the show, ladies. Why don't we start off by each of you telling us a little bit about yourselves, generally speaking, maybe touching on some of those milestones on your journey, and then we can dive into some of these topics. So take it away.
Well, hello. Hi, Joe. It's so nice to be part of the podcast. So my name is Jana, as you said, Jana Spero, and I'm really proud to be part of this program. Well, as you said, now I am a Secretary General of the Confederation of European Probation. And I have to say that international cooperation is something that makes me super happy. So my job is actually a place where I feel like a fish in the water. And to go back to my personal history, a little bit about me. Well, don't run away because I'm a lawyer from my education. And I started my career in the Ministry of Justice of the Republic of Croatia, where I worked for 17 years, first in international cooperation. And then I had a privilege to be one of the people who were building up and developing the probation service in Croatia. It's a young service that we started in 2010, opening offices in 2011. And it was really an excellent role to be there to set up what is now a really good modern professional service. But then after a few years, I got the opportunity to also become in charge for the prisons in the Republic of Croatia. And I became the first ever female Director General for prisons and probation in Croatia, which is a very nice role, but it's also very challenging role to have such a big system to be leader. I enjoyed every moment of the 5 years of being Director General, but then I decided that it was time to go on international level. So last year in September, I joined the CEP professionally as a Secretary General. And for me, this is now a really good role because in my history, I was expert for the Council of Europe and for European Union, and I worked a lot on a different international projects. And also CEP, well, I can say, just like Juliana, that when it comes to CEP, we are the usual suspect because we have a long history. Well, for me, I was 3 years a board member of CEP, and I was 3 years vice president of CEP before I became the Secretary General. So it's in my blood, it's in my veins, and I will stop now and give a word to my dear Vice President, Juliana.
Thank you, Jana, and thank you, Joe, for having me actually for the second time in our show, the Criminologist show. Yeah, it's a pleasure to discuss with you last year, and it's always a pleasure to be back. But for those of you who are listening for the first time, the Criminologist series, just to let you know that, similar like Jana, I have probation in my blood and in my veins. As I did that here in my country, Romania, since probably 20 years, more than 20 years, since probation was just an idea on a paper here in our country. As an education, I'm different comparing to Jana. I have a background in social work. And currently I'm doing my doctoral studies. I'm following a PhD here with the Bucharest University. And actually I'm analyzing how ideas about probation are flying from one country to another. So I hope that soon we will be able to share with you these ideas for my research. But in my CEP capacity, again, I guess I'm celebrating this year around 20 years of CEP, 20. So why I am saying that is the fact that our organization from here, from Romania, joined a CEP organization since many years ago. And I had the privilege and the honor to serve CEP and to represent my country as a board member. And starting with the last year in beautiful city of Dubrovnik, all our members gave me the honor and voted for me as a vice president for this term. So, this is, let's say, just a snapshot about our experience and career. But we are international suspects, as Jana said earlier.
Yes, you are. Yes, you are. I'm looking forward to following your academic progress in your studies. Those topics sound fascinating, Juliana. Jana, for those listeners who are members of the American Probation and Parole Association, perhaps tell us in broad terms, what is the Confederation of European Probation all about?
Well, Confederation of European Probation is the largest and the oldest umbrella organization, network organization for the probation services in Europe. We were established back in 1981, so we are in our 40s, so we are in the best age. We know what we want, we know how we can do it, and we are very professional now. So we are gathering professional services, and we are gathering experts both from practice and from research, and trying to make the common values for the probation service in Europe. For us, it's very, very important that we connect people and professionals, and that we provide a lot of advice on the best possibilities. In international cooperation, and for us in the CEP, we like to call ourselves the CEP family. We really consider ourselves family. There is no competition. It's all about learning and all about the values. So for us, it's important that we share the knowledge we have from our countries in order to help other countries to do or to learn something. And when we are doing this, it's always two-way street. While you are giving something, you are getting something. And what we like to highlight, it's never copy-paste. It's always about getting a good idea. It's always about tailoring a good idea to your national needs. For us, we really want to promote the social inclusion of the offenders through different community sanctions and measures. And our important goal is to highlight the importance of the probation service in the criminal justice services. So we are also very interested in sharing the best possible solutions in order to make all the probation services as much professional as it possible. So I think this is enough, but if you have any other question, I would be happy to answer it.
No, that was fantastic. I love so many things you said, up to and including how you don't take a copy and paste approach and how you tailor it to the individual nations almost, you could argue, embracing the responsivity principle. And I love how you said there's no competition and it's really family. That kind of speaks to the community corrections approach we take here in the United States. Speaking of family, Juliana, I have had the honor of training alongside you and Professor Dernescu at his International Training School on Core Correctional Skills in Barcelona, which I believe was co-sponsored by the Confederation of European Probation. Could you maybe, Juliana, address the importance of ongoing staff development for CEP and its members?
Yes, this is very much related with what Jana explained earlier, that we want to share the best possible solutions for the staff in our organizations and for our members, and also for our partners like APPA. Yeah, we want to emphasize the role of evidence-based intervention. And actually, this is what we are planning to do also this year in Barcelona, because we will reoffend the third time. Yeah. What we are doing in International Training School on Core Correctional Skills is to bring evidence to practitioners, because our program is developed around the core skills, which are the basis of correctional staff intervention. So this will be actually the plan to address it this year again. But we will have an added value, and we have actually a guest from United States, Professor Faye Taxman. So again, how our continents are coming together and how we are putting our words, closer, even if we are miles away. So we'll have a guest from United States here in Europe to deliver a training for our participants in Barcelona. Why? Because we want, again, to deliver the best solutions for our colleagues in probation services, in parole services, in correctional service, let's say, in general. So for those of you who didn't register yet for our International Training School on Core Correctional Skills, you can go online. Registration is still open, and you have an early bird for 1 more week. So hurry.
Yes, and I will leave a link to register within the description of this podcast to make it easier for those listeners to just follow that link. And as you said, I believe there's still about a week left for early bird registration. Jana, in addition to our American listeners, I do have many European listeners who follow the podcast. Could you perhaps give a sales pitch to those European probation officers who may not be CEP members and what the benefits of membership might be?
Yes, of course. Thank you for this opportunity, Joe. Yeah. Well, as I already said, CEP is the largest probation network in Europe. So being part of this network is really opening the door for invitation to all our events where we gather a lot of different experts from different parts of the Europe. And we are organizing different activities for our members. So every year we have conferences, we have workshops, we have webinars. And what is very important in our work, we have a special expert groups that are opened only for our members. And expert groups are tackling the most important issues for our members. So we are dealing with the mental health, with the domestic violence, with the radicalism, really different topics. We are working on connecting researchers with the practitioners. And everything of this is open for the members. Of course, the more details you can see on our web pages of CEP, where you can also read a lot of reports that we have. Okay, so on top of the expert groups, we also share a lot of knowledge on our web pages, so you can learn more about our activities. Being a member, both as organization or individual member, is bringing you together to all other experts that are part of our network. So at the moment, we are representing 39 countries in Europe and 42 different jurisdictions, because some countries we have more than one jurisdiction. And we also have our affiliate membership for the organizations that are outside of the Europe. So the more, the merrier. So please, if you are not already a member of the family, come and join us.
I have to ask selfishly, because I'm such a lifelong learner, is CEP membership open to American correctional professionals such as myself?
Well, this is something to discuss with our board, because at the moment we are mostly concentrated on people that are living in the countries of the Council of Europe. But if you are interested and motivated, send us a letter and we will talk about it and consider your application.
Well, thank you for the consideration. I appreciate it. Jana, I know you were elected to your new position. You just articulated this. not too long ago. Are there some things that you're dedicating yourself to in this new role? Any special projects, for example, that you've got on the horizon with Confederation of European Probation?
Well, actually, there are so many things going on. As I told you, we are running expert groups. We are preparing different activities. We just had a big international conference in Slovakia where we gathered 19 different countries talking about alternatives to detention under the European framework. Also, regarding the projects, this year, the CEP first time started Erasmus project where we are the leader in working on the topic of volunteers in probation, where CEP is taking a lead with the 7 different countries. So this is a 3-year project that is looking for a lot of dedication and a lot of expertise. So this is just one thing that we are doing. We are also engaged in preparations for the next World Congress on Probation and Parole. And next year in 2024, in April, the World Congress will be held in the Netherlands. And also there are many different activities that we are running. So for me personally, it's just that now it's 24/7 being involved with this. So if there are any additional questions and the interest, I'll be happy to answer.
Yes, I will forward any questions I may get from my listeners to you as well. What about you, Iuliana, in your new role as vice president? I know we kid that you're such a problem solver. That's your superpower. What problems and projects are you tackling in your new role as vice president with CEP?
Well, most of the problems are already solved by Jana because she's a problem solver as well. So mainly I am continuing the work I have started as a board member in the previous terms. And I consider myself, and I hope our members consider my presence here in the region as an anchor for them. So I represent this part of Europe in the CEP board, and I try to be a good face of the CEP, wherever the case will be. So that's why you see me from time to time as a CEP representative. So when Jana, when our president, Miss Annie DeVos, will delegate particular activities and events, I am jumping in and represent the organization for meetings, debates, development of documents, and so on. So problem solving and also public speaking.
I love to learn from corrections professionals around the world, as you know, Iuliana, and I've come to find that there tend to be more similarities than differences. What does that look like from your lens, as far as in your travels and experience, Iuliana, those similarities and differences?
Well, it's a hard question, Joe, because we are similar in a way, because all of us, we are eager to learn and to develop and do better. You know, for our communities, we want to do better for our staff. We want to deliver a better service for our countries. Yeah, so the values we have in our organizations are similar. Of course, we have some differences in terms of organization of the systems. We have probation as individual organization, or we have prison and probation together, as Jana explained in this is the case of Croatia. So we have also differences in our world, but it's important to keep all the time in mind the values, why we are here, what is the important aim we need to follow every day. So that's why, in order to follow these values and to guide our members and our partners in this process, CEP is also here to build bridges between countries and to observe similarities, to observe differences, to learn from other people's experience, to take back home, not copy and paste, but to be inspired and to grow when they will go back after, let's say, a conference or an event, or after listening a podcast as this one. We want to facilitate this process of to be inspirational for our members and partners. But again, is important to be open to observe these differences and similarities in order to grow and to move on. But in the end, we are all guided by the same great values.
Yeah, one of the things I've learned in my travels is to not be so rabid, if you will, about fidelity. I used to, when I first got into training world, particularly with evidence-based practices, it was sort of beat in our heads, this notion of fidelity. But then I learned when I travel to other jurisdictions, particularly internationally, or even in the United States, I realized that those subtle differences I shouldn't be so obsessed over. It's the bigger theme, whether someone's using motivational interviewing versus moral recognition therapy or DBT versus another cognitive behavioral. Don't get hung up on that as much as, like you said, the bigger thematic things. And that's where we really see the growth. Jana, you talked to this a little bit earlier when you mentioned the World Conference in the Netherlands in April of 2024, but other upcoming events for CEP that you'd like to promote?
Oh, yes, of course. We are always full of events. Thank you for asking. So there are some events that are open for our European colleagues, and there are some that are open for everyone. So even we would like to have you, Joe, in some of our future events. So let's say that now in June, we have one webinar on radicalization on the 14th of June. Then we continue with a face-to-face workshop on working with the juveniles and young adult offenders that will be on 21st of June in Barcelona. After that, we have a really super criminal justice platform summer course that has got a topic this year, mental health issues in criminal justice. And let me just tell you that criminal justice platform tackles every topic from 3 different angles. We have a part for the prison people, for the probation people, and for restorative justice. So it's the seminar that has got 3 different groups, and they also have some sessions together, and it's open for everyone. So if you are a professional that is really interested in the mental health issues, and we know that this is a rising issue for all of us in the criminal justice field working with the offenders, then please check. This is the early July, and it's Barcelona. So it's a really good place to be and something to learn. After that, you already heard from Juliana. We are also inviting everyone to join International Training School on Core Correction Skills. This will be the 3rd edition, and we will really have an excellent program. So if you want to go to the basics of the probation work with the offenders, then this is really the place to be. And it's also in beautiful Barcelona. And Juliana will be there. So what more can I say to promote it than just be there? Of course.
And Jana,
yes.
And Joe, I hope will be there together with Professor Ioan Durnescu and Anna from the CEP and Laura Negredo from Spain. So we have an amazing panel.
Well, as I said, invitation, really, I don't think we have to say more. It's something, it's just one of those things you need to be there. Do not miss it. And of course, we will have a conference for Directors General in November, and we will finish the year with the expert group on sexual offenders and domestic violence, but I think we've already given too much information. So Joe, as we will send you some links, so maybe you can share with your listeners, and then they can check more depending on the topic that is most important for their professional work life.
Yes, I would direct my listeners on the description of the podcast episode. All of those relevant links will be included. I love learning from others around the world, obviously. I would love to hear either of you speak to the CEP knowledge base, if you would. I think that's a fantastic resource.
Yes, it is. And we are encouraging our listeners to check our website. and to see these important sections. They will see first our publication Probation in Europe, edited by Professor Dunescu and Professor Van Klaptap from Netherlands. And this will give you an overview about how probation is now in Europe. And we have some updated chapters there, so please check. But also regularly we are uploading the presentations from our seminars, conferences here in Europe. So if you didn't have the chance to attend these events, you will find all the information online. So again, what is important in our work, you can find the resources there. So please check the website.
And speaking of the website, I know there's a section there entitled Probation Works. I love the way you set this up with sort of a question and answer type thing. For example, why do people offend? Or how and why do people stop offending? Could either of you maybe speak to that Probation Works section of the website?
Well, it is one of the projects that was a CEP involved. We worked with different researchers and professors, for example, University of Applied Science and in Utrecht. So we gathered the information and a lot of answers from different professors. So if you want to learn more, there is a variety of authorities in Europe that are writing about these important issues. For example, Professor Rob Canford from the Montfort University in UK is talking about why people even do offend. You also have professors from the UK who contributed to this, but I think it would be like a spoiler because it's too short time to explain this in details. But I think it's very nice because it's available in different languages on our webpage, and it would be good for your readers, the ones who want to know more, to just check it on the CEP web pages and get some good answers. Because if Juliana and I start going through these nice questions that you tackle, Joe, I think this would be the longest podcast in the history of the Criminologist.
What I just heard you say, Jana, was, Joe, we can't wait to have you invite us back to the podcast at some future date to unpack some of these other fantastic topics. We were speaking before we started recording, Jana and I, about how the world has sort of gotten smaller in this day and age. That being said, I know, Juliana, you will be in New York for the APPA conference, as will I. So if listeners who are going to be in New York City in August for that conference want to track us down and pick our brains on any of these topics or more, we will be there. So I look forward to seeing you then. And or any of the Europeans who will be in Barcelona in October, I will be returning to the training school as well to join Professor Dunescu and his elite team of global trainers. Jana Spero, Juliana Carbonaro, thank you both so much for joining me. I look forward to our paths crossing again, which I'm certain they will. And until then, continue doing the great work you're doing over there.
Thank you so much, Joe. Thank you for this invitation.
Thank you.
All right, until next time, ladies. Bye-bye. A major Criminologist podcast. Thank you to Jana Spero and Juliana Carbonaro for joining me on this special APPA edition of the Criminologist podcast. As promised, I have embedded several relevant web links within the episode description of this program. Those include the Confederation of European Probation web page, and also a link directing listeners to upcoming CEP events. I encourage you to check those out if you are a European listener. You will also discover a link for an upcoming CEP-sponsored summer course entitled Mental Health Issues in Criminal Justice, taking place July 4th through the 7th in Barcelona. This is actually the 5th edition of their International Criminal Justice Summer Course Series. And speaking of Barcelona, there is a link for registration and information as to the 3rd annual International Training School on Core Correctional Skills, hosted by Professor Iwan Dernescu and his global team of subject matter experts. As noted, our special keynote speaker this year will be Faye Taxman from George Mason University. Of course, there's also a link for the upcoming APPA Training Institute in New York City this coming August of 2023. If you are planning on attending, please come track me down to say hello. And if you cannot make it to Barcelona to attend the International Training School on Core Correctional Skills in October, Ion Dernescu and I will be facilitating a training on those aforementioned core correctional skills at APPA this year. And you may also have a chance to connect with Juliana Carbonaro, who will also be presenting at APPA. Hope to see some of you in the Big Apple. We will be back next week with a fresh episode. In the meantime, you may contact the show or reach out to us through our website, the Paragon Group, LLC.com, for training or presentations as to core correctional skills, program design, or, of course, the topic of desistance from crime. If you have questions or comments as to this podcast, feel free to contact the show via our email at thecriminologistpodcast@gmail.com. That's thecriminologistpodcast@gmail.com. Remember to follow us through our Facebook and Instagram pages at The Criminologist Podcast. New, fun images are being added all the time to those feeds. You don't want to miss out. The Criminologist Media Group is also on Twitter. Give us a follow at Crim Media Group. That's CRIM Media Group. You may also connect with me, Joseph Arvidsson, or Jana Spero, or Juliana Carbonaro on LinkedIn, and follow both the Criminologist Podcast and the Paragon Group on our LinkedIn pages. Hey, lastly, if you've not already done so, check out and subscribe to our YouTube channel, The Criminologist, for additional content as to the themes of this program. And if you believe in what we're doing on the show, if you're part of the movement, please spread the word, tell a friend or a coworker or a colleague about us, ask them to subscribe to the podcast, and of course, do so yourself if you've not already done so. And always remember, folks, there's no them, there's only us.
Yeah, similar like Jana, I have probation in my blood and in my veins.
And for us in the CEP, we like to call ourselves the CEP family. We really consider ourselves family. There is no competition. It's all about learning and all about the values.
This has been a special APPA edition of the Criminologist Podcast. Their international relations team looks forward to sharing the insights of other subject matter experts from around the world in future episodes. The Criminologist Podcast is a production of the Paragon Group, LLC. For speaking engagements, interviews, program design, or training opportunities, please visit us at theparagongroup.llc.com. Be sure to give us a 5-star review, and thanks for listening.